Okay, so leadership, right? Everyone's always talking about these days.
hmm
But does it ever feel like all that advice is kind of, well, fluffy to you?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, there's so much talk about leadership, but does it ever feel like there's not a lot behind it?
Exactly. That's exactly what I mean. And so for this deep dive, we're going past all those like buzzwords and really getting deep into respectful leadership. You've actually got some really interesting sources here for us,
Yeah.
some psychology research insights from some pretty well-known authors and even like practical strategies. And I'm looking at this and it seems like it's more than just like being nice.
Yeah, you're totally right. It's not just being nice, on the surface. It's actually much more fundamental. And the benefits of respectful leadership, they're real. Increased productivity, higher job satisfaction, a more engaged and successful team overall.
Whoa. Okay. I am so intrigued. So where do we even start? Like one of the first things that I saw was a quote from Brené Brown. And she says, I'm paraphrasing here a little bit, that respect isn't optional, it's a basic human right. So what did you think of that?
You know, that quote really stood out to me too. And it's not just like a nice sounding statement. It's actually backed up by a lot of really solid research in social psychology, more specifically, the area of social identity theory.
Okay, so break that down for me. How does social identity theory have anything to do with respect in the workplace?
All right, so picture this. You're on a team at work, and you feel really respected by everyone, your colleagues, your boss, everyone. Social identity theory suggests that that feeling of being respected that you have strengthens your sense of belonging to the team. And when you feel like you belong, you're more invested in the team's success, right? You're more loyal and you're way more engaged with the work.
That makes a lot of sense. Like when you feel respected, you're probably more likely to go that extra mile for the team because you're a valued part of it. It's not
Right.
just about you, it's about all of us, right?
Exactly. And there's data to support this too. There was a study published in the Journal of Applied Psychology, you've had it in our sources, and it found that employees who felt respected by their leaders had much higher job satisfaction. And get this, they had lower stress levels too.
So it's not just about feeling all warm and fuzzy inside then. We're talking about a real work environment where
Mhm.
people actually thrive. That's actually pretty compelling.
Yeah, it is. And it's like what Simon Sinek talks about in Leaders Eat Last, one of our other sources. Do you remember what he said about how important it is for leaders to create a safe and supportive environment?
Yeah. He says that real leadership isn't about like ordering people around.
Yeah.
It's about creating that feeling of safety and belonging so that people can do their absolute best work.
Exactly. And that fits in perfectly with what we're talking about. Because when people feel safe and respected, they're more likely to be themselves and take risks. They'll really contribute their best ideas. You're talking about a culture where everyone feels seen, heard, and respected.
So it sounds like listening is really important to all of this respectful leadership stuff. Stephen Covey, another one of our sources, really hit on that, didn't he?
Oh, he totally did. You know that famous quote from The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People? The one that goes, seek first to understand, then to be understood. It's all about respectful leadership, even if he never actually uses those words.
Think about it. You're in a meeting and your leader actually takes the time to truly understand your perspective before even saying what they think. That feeling of being heard of, being taken seriously, that's really powerful.
You're absolutely right. And it's not just about listening to the words people are saying. It's about paying attention to their body language, their tone of voice, their overall energy. It's about being present in those interactions.
All right, so we've talked about why respectful leadership is so important, but how do we actually do it? What are the concrete things leaders can do to make this real?
You know, your sources actually had some great stuff about this. There are 6 key strategies that really jumped out at me.
Okay, I'm ready. Lay it on me. What's the first one we're adding to our respectful leadership toolbox?
The first thing is consistent and fair treatment. That means making sure everyone on the team is treated equally no matter what their background or personality or position is.
So no playing favorites.
Exactly. It's all about establishing a level playing field where everyone has the same opportunities and is held to the same standards.
That's a strong start. What else is there?
The second one is open and honest communication. This is about being transparent with your team, sharing information and being clear and direct in how you communicate.
You know, this reminds me of what Patrick Lencioni says about team dysfunction. Wasn't in our sources, but I was reading about it recently. He says that not trusting each other is at the root of most team problems, and that trust comes from being vulnerable and honest.
That's a great connection. Being open and honest with how you communicate shows your team that you trust them and that you're not afraid to be vulnerable yourself. That kind of vulnerability can be so powerful in building trust and respect.
So we've got consistent and fair treatment, open and honest communication. What's number 3?
So this one's about really walking the walk. It's accountability and responsibility, leading by example, holding yourself and your team accountable for the actions and decisions.
Oh, so it's not enough to just talk about respect. You have to actually show it in how you act.
Yeah, exactly. When you own your mistakes and take responsibility, it shows your team that you value integrity, that you're not just demanding it from them, but you're actually living it yourself.
Makes sense. All right, 3. Down 3 to go. What's the 4th strategy for leading with respect?
This one might really speak to you based on what you've said about your own work. It's empowerment and autonomy. It's about giving your team the freedom to make decisions and own their work.
Wait a second. This sounds familiar. Is this kind of like what Daniel Pink talks about in Drive? That book was so interesting. He says that people are most motivated when they feel a sense of autonomy, mastery, and purpose.
You got it. There's definitely a connection there. When you give people autonomy, you're basically saying, hey, I trust your judgment. I value what you have to say. That kind of trust is so important for a respectful working relationship.
Okay, I'm loving this toolbox thing. It's so helpful. So far, we've got consistent and fair treatment, open and honest communication, accountability and responsibility, and empowerment and autonomy. What's next? What else can we add to our toolbox?
All right, this one is super important, especially when you want to help people grow and get better at what they do. It's constructive feedback and recognition. And it's not just about praising people, it's about giving feedback that's specific, timely, and focused on what they do, not who they are.
So you mean not just saying good job, but actually telling them exactly what they did well and maybe what they could improve.
Right. It's about giving feedback that they can actually use to grow. And obviously, genuine recognition for good work is important too. Even a simple thank you can go a long way in making people feel appreciated.
And, that reminds me of something else in our sources, the progress principle from Teresa Amabile and Stephen Kramer. They really focus on the power of celebrating even the small wins.
Oh, yeah, totally. Recognizing those small steps forward can be a huge motivator for a team. It shows them that you see their effort and that you appreciate it even if they haven't achieved the ultimate goal yet.
That's such a good point.
Yeah.
So, okay, we've got our 6 strategies for leading with respect. But it's not just about what individuals do, right? It's got to be about the whole environment, the whole culture of the organization.
You're totally right. You could have the best tools in the world, but if your environment is toxic, it's going to be almost impossible to build anything positive.
So how do we create that culture of respect then? Like, where do you even begin?
I think a good place to start is by setting clear expectations, making sure that everyone knows what respect actually looks like in practice.
So we're talking about defining those, like, rules of behavior, those ground rules for how we interact with each other on a daily basis.
Exactly. This could be a formal code of conduct or open discussions about what respect means to different people, or even just setting a good example through your own leadership.
That last one is so important. Actions speak louder than words, right? But let's be real. Even with the best intentions, someone's going to mess up at some point.
Yeah.
How do we deal with those moments of disrespect when they happen?
That's a really great question. And you're right, those situations are going to come up. The key is to address disrespectful behavior quickly and do it effectively.
So we're not just ignoring things, even if they seem small.
Right. Even little things can have a ripple effect on the whole team dynamic. It's about making it crystal clear that disrespect isn't okay and that everyone deserves to be treated with dignity.
Okay, so what does that actually look like? How do you address those situations in a way that works? It can be kind of tricky, especially if there's conflict between team members.
You're right. It takes some finesse and you have to be sensitive. The important thing is to act fast, be professional, and be fair. Listen to everyone involved. Get all the facts and then take action based on what's going on.
So there's not just one way to do it. You have to use your judgment and those principles to handle each situation as it comes up.
Exactly. You know, another great way to encourage a culture of respect is to promote diversity and inclusion.
Oh, that's a big one. Because when people really feel like they belong and like their unique perspectives and experiences are valued, it just creates a much more respectful and supportive place to be, don't you think?
For sure. It's about recognizing that diversity isn't just a box to check off. It's actually a source of strength, innovation, and creativity. When you have a team with all sorts of different backgrounds, experiences, and ways of thinking, you can approach problems in totally new and creative ways.
And not just that, but you're also more likely to make products and services that meet the needs of way more people. Diversity and inclusion aren't just the right thing to do. They're good for business, too.
Absolutely. It's a win-win. Okay, so we've got setting clear expectations, addressing disrespect head-on, and promoting diversity and inclusion. What else do we need to build this awesome culture of respect?
Well, thinking back to some of the teams I've been on, it seems like collaboration and teamwork are super important for building that kind of environment.
You're right on the money. Fostering that sense of community where everybody is working together towards the same goal, that's crucial.
It's like that saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
I love that. It really captures the power of collaboration. When people feel like they're part of a team, when they feel supported and respected by their colleagues, it makes a world of difference.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground. Clear expectations, addressing disrespectful behavior, promoting diversity and inclusion, and fostering collaboration. Anything else we should be thinking about as we try to build a respectful workplace?
I think it all comes back to something we talked about earlier, modeling respectful behavior as a leader.
Right, right. Leading by example. Actions speak louder than words and all that.
Exactly. If you want a culture of respect, you need to be that respect. You need to treat everyone with dignity and kindness, even when it's hard. You need to listen, really listen, communicate clearly, and be willing to say when you're wrong.
So it's like you're setting the tone for the whole company.
Exactly. And that tone, that energy, it spreads out way beyond just your immediate team.
So it's not just about saying the right things, it's about actually doing them every day. That's a powerful message.
It really is. And when you commit to making respect a core value of your leadership, you'll be amazed by how positively it affects your team, your organization, and even yourself.
This has been such an interesting and insightful conversation. Thank you so much for diving into all this with me.
It's been my pleasure. And to everyone listening, keep learning, keep growing, and keep leading with respect.
Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive. So before we wrap up, I want to leave everyone with something to think about, something we've kind of been talking about this whole time. Remember that Brené Brown quote, the one about respect being a basic human right? How are you doing as a leader when it comes to upholding that right for the people you work with? Or even if you're not a leader right now, think about what you've seen. Have you seen leaders do a good job of creating a respectful environment, or not so much?
Wow, that's a really powerful question to think about, and I think it shows something really important. Respective leadership isn't like a finish line you cross, it's more like a journey.
Yeah, it's like you're always learning and growing and
Yeah.
trying to be better.
Exactly. There's no secret formula or one-size-fits-all solution. It's about being present, being aware of how you affect other people, and really trying to lead with respect in everything you do.
As we were going through all these strategies and tools, it hit me that it's not just about those big dramatic moments. It's all the little everyday things that really make up a workplace culture.
You're so right. It's how you say hi to people in the morning. It's how you listen in meetings. It's how you handle disagreements. It's how you give feedback. All those little things build up to create a culture of respect or disrespect.
And, from all the research and the ideas we talked about today, building that culture of respect isn't just the nice thing to do. It actually affects how successful a team is. We're talking more productivity, more job satisfaction, more innovation, just a better experience for everyone.
Yeah, it's a win-win for leaders, team members, and the whole organization. It's something worth working towards for sure.
So well said. This has been such a great conversation, so interesting and so thought-provoking. Thank you so much for diving into this with me.
The pleasure was all mine. And to everyone listening out there, keep learning, keep growing, and keep leading with respect.
Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.